1,200%. That's not a typo. That's not clickbait. That's the actual number. When Caitlin Clark announced she'd swing a golf club at a professional event, ticket sales didn't just increase. They exploded by 12 times what organizers had ever seen. But here's what's crazy. This isn't just about one basketball star playing golf. This is about a 22-year-old woman who just proved that greatness doesn't recognize boundaries. And what happened on November 13th, 2024 might have changed two sports forever. Before we dive in, I need to know, have you ever watched Caitlin Clark play basketball? Drop a yes if you're already a fan, or new here if this is your first time hearing her story. And here's the real question. Do you think an athlete can truly dominate in two completely different sports, or should they stick to one lane? Comment two sports or stay focused because I guarantee your answer might change by the end of this video. And if you're into stories about athletes breaking barriers and rewriting rules, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you're in the right place.
Yeah, I think I'm just excited, honestly. I'm not a professional golfer by any means, so I think just having fun and getting to be with, two of the best to, probably ever play this game.
Picture this moment. It's 6:30 in the morning at Pelican Golf Club in Bel Air, Florida. At most Pro-Am golf events, this is the quiet hour. Maybe a handful of dedicated fans trickling in with their coffee, volunteers still setting up merchandise tents, players just starting to arrive for their warm-up routines. But on this particular Wednesday morning, the scene looked nothing like a typical golf tournament. It looked like someone had transported a sold-out basketball arena to a golf course. Hundreds of fans were already lined up in the pre-dawn darkness. And here's the detail that made tournament organizers do a double take. More than half of them were wearing Indiana Fever jerseys with the number 22 on the back. Basketball jerseys at a golf tournament. At 6:30 in the morning, security teams that had worked this event for years suddenly found themselves scrambling, calling for backup, trying to manage crowds they'd never anticipated and honestly never thought possible for a Wednesday practice round. Golf Channel executives made a decision that morning that shocked their own production staff. They moved their entire studio show 90 minutes earlier than the scheduled broadcast time and deployed full tournament-level coverage. Multiple cameras, graphics packages, the whole production apparatus normally reserved for Sunday final rounds of major championships. This wasn't a minor adjustment. This was a complete programming overhaul. NBC Sports executive Tom Knapp later admitted they'd sharpened their pencils on the budget, meaning they'd carefully calculated every single dollar of this investment. But they didn't overthink the decision. Why? Because they understood something massive was unfolding. This wasn't about capturing good ratings for one morning show. This was about the genuine possibility of converting even a small fraction of one athlete's enormous following into lifelong golf fans. And the network was willing to bet big on that potential. The athlete creating all this chaos? Caitlin Clark, the same woman who'd just completed a record-shattering WNBA rookie season, was about to tee off at the Annika Pro-Am, and the entire sports world was watching.
All of these places, every media outlet is covering this.
Clark stepped onto the practice range just as dawn light began spreading across the Florida coastline. Her equipment immediately caught attention from serious golfers in the crowd. Custom midnight black ping wedges with gold detailing and her iconic number 22 stamped on each club. These weren't borrowed clubs or random equipment grabbed for a celebrity appearance. This was a golfer's setup, someone who takes the game seriously, even if it's not their profession. LPGA professionals warming up on the range, players who'd driven or flown in for the tournament, all turned when Clark arrived. But she wasn't making a grand entrance or playing to cameras. She was doing what she's always done throughout her entire athletic career, showing up early, putting in work, treating every moment like it matters whether anyone's watching or not. Standing beside her on the first tee was Nelly Korda, and this pairing carried serious weight. Korda wasn't just any golfer. She was the world's #1 ranked player at that exact moment, fresh off clinching LPGA Player of the Year honors after one of the most dominant seasons in recent golf history. 7 tournament victories, including 5 consecutive wins, matching a record that only the legendary Annika Sorenstam had achieved before. Korda was at the absolute peak of her sport, the same way Clark was at the peak of hers. The gallery following their group that morning was unlike anything LPGA officials had witnessed. A couple in their 50s from Texas, both wearing Fever jerseys despite the Florida heat, told reporters they'd driven more than 6 hours just to watch Caitlin Clark play 9 holes of golf. When asked if they'd ever attended an LPGA event before, they shook their heads. Golf wasn't even on their radar as spectators. But Caitlin was playing, so they came. Young girls pressed against the ropes holding handmade signs decorated with glitter and markers. "We love Caitlin Clark," written in purple and gold. "Shoot for me, Caitlin," surrounded by hand-drawn basketballs and golf balls. One teenage fan had convinced her parents to drive from Indiana specifically for this moment, treating the Pro-Am like a once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage. This is exactly what tournament owner Dan Doyle Jr. meant when he revealed that Clark's participation had increased their Wednesday Pro-Am ticket sales by 1,200% compared to previous years. These weren't existing golf fans who happened to like basketball. These were basketball fans, WNBA followers, people inspired by Clark's story who were willing to wake up before sunrise just to watch their hero try something completely different. Clark's opening tee shot revealed the nerves that even the most confident athletes feel when thousands of eyes are watching. She pulled it left, and you could see that instant where the fierce competitor inside her, the same person who'd hit countless game-winning shots under impossible pressure, visibly winced as the ball splashed into the water hazard. But then something happened that perfectly captured who Caitlin Clark really is, beneath all the records and highlights and media coverage. She turned toward the massive gallery, probably 300 people deep at the first tee box, and she smiled. Not a forced PR smile or an embarrassed grimace, but that genuine, warm Caitlin Clark smile that's made her one of the most beloved athletes in America. She called out a friendly apology to the crowd, acknowledging the mistake without making excuses or dwelling on it. Then she immediately teed up another ball and hit a much better shot that drew huge cheers from fans who appreciated both her skill and her authenticity. No drama, no throwing clubs, no visible frustration. Just honest acknowledgement that golf is incredibly difficult, and even the most talented athletes in the world hit bad shots sometimes. That mulligan led to a solid result, and she was off. Playing alongside Nelly Korda created fascinating dynamics that went far beyond just hitting golf shots. Between holes, they talked about the mental challenges of performing at the highest level. They discussed handling social media criticism and the constant weight of public expectations. They laughed about the absurdity of being recognized everywhere they go. Korda later revealed something that shows Clark's true impact. She admitted that Clark's basketball journey had inspired her to start watching WNBA games for the first time in her life. She found herself checking fever scores, watching highlights, getting genuinely invested in basketball. This is the kind of cross-sport connection that elevates all women's athletics. When the best golfer in the world says a basketball player made her care about another league, that creates ripples extending far beyond individual athletes. After completing their 9 holes, the two exchanged jerseys. Korda pulled on Clark's Indiana Fever number 22. Clark wore Korda's golf shirt. Both women were grinning like they'd just become genuine friends rather than simply fulfilling a professional obligation. That simple gesture, captured by photographers and shared millions of times within hours, symbolized something much deeper about solidarity and mutual respect among elite women athletes. The back 9 brought a different energy when Annika Sorenstam joined Clark's group. Sorenstam is a 10-time major championship winner and arguably the greatest LPGA player of the modern era. 72 LPGA Tour victories, Player of the Year 8 times. She'd even competed in a PGA Tour event against men and proved she belonged. Now, at 54 years old and hosting this tournament that bears her name, she'd been watching Clark's rise with genuine fascination. Walking the fairways together, Sorenstam shared insights that went beyond golf mechanics. She talked about what it means to be a pioneer, to carry the weight of representing an entire gender, while also just trying to compete and enjoy your sport. She discussed the lonely aspects of being at the top, how success can isolate you even as it brings attention, and she offered perspective about building legacies that matter beyond just statistics. When reporters asked Sorenstam afterward if she'd ever witnessed such buzz and energy on a Wednesday morning of an LPGA tournament, her answer was immediate and revealing. Not on the LPGA Tour. Never anything like this in all my years. The atmosphere was different, special, something that couldn't be manufactured through marketing budgets or promotional campaigns. LPGA Commissioner Molly Marcoux-Samaan stood among the crowds that morning, watching this phenomenon unfold with her own eyes. She saw fans in basketball jerseys following a golf group. She watched young girls who'd probably never held a golf club hanging on every single shot. She witnessed mainstream sports media outlets dedicating substantial resources to covering a Wednesday practice round, and she understood immediately that this was bigger than one day's attendance numbers or television ratings. Samaan later called Caitlin Clark box office, using that entertainment industry term for someone who puts people in seats regardless of the product. A true needle mover, she said, the kind of transcendent star that doesn't just draw existing fans to new contexts, but actually creates new fans who stick around. Here's a number that proves her point. When Clark posted about the Annika event on her social media accounts, her content generated an estimated 34 million impressions for the LPGA. 34 million. That's more exposure than most LPGA tournaments receive over an entire 4-day competition. Traditional golf media outlets suddenly dedicated extensive coverage to women's golf. Mainstream sports channels that rarely mention the LPGA devoted entire segments to discussing Clark's round. What makes Clark's golf experience particularly striking is the contrast with her WNBA rookie season. Throughout that year, she faced physical play that often crossed into dangerous territory. Flagrant fouls, cheap shots, hits that left commentators questioning why officials weren't providing better protection. She endured trash talk that went beyond competitive banter into personal attacks. Some veteran players openly questioned whether she deserved the attention she received, as if record television ratings and sold-out arenas somehow needed justification. Even league executives and some media members participated in this subtle diminishment, suggesting that Clark's media coverage was somehow problematic or came at other players' expense. The phrase Caitlin Clark effect became simultaneously a compliment and an insult depending on who used it. But in golf, the reception was remarkably different. LPGA pros went out of their way to welcome her. Maria Fassi, an LPGA Tour player, literally chased Clark down the 18th fairway, not for a photo op, but to personally thank her for supporting women's sports. Sorenstam spoke glowingly about Clark's passion and competitiveness in every interview. Korda expressed sincere gratitude for the attention Clark brought to their tour. The message from golf was clear and consistent. Clark wasn't seen as a threat or someone getting undeserved celebrity attention. She was celebrated as exactly what she is, a generational talent whose presence benefits everyone. 1 week after the Annika, Clark made a surprise appearance at the RSM Classic, a PGA Tour event in Georgia. Playing with Commissioner Jay Monahan and two-time major champion Zach Johnson, another Iowa native, she showed noticeable improvement in her game. But what impressed Johnson most wasn't her golf. He told reporters, "Everyone talks about her talent on the court and how she's raised the bar for women's sports. But she's an even better person off the court. Quality all the way." He described watching her develop authentic relationships with young supporters, especially kids, taking whatever time was needed to make genuine connections. On that back nine, Clark made birdie on the par 5 14th hole, and the cheers sounded exactly like when she hits a game winner. That's the Caitlin Clark effect in action. Here's what people need to understand about Clark's golf journey. She carries a 16 handicap. She typically scores in the mid-80s, sometimes struggles to break 100. She hits powerful drives when she catches them clean, and she also hits bad shots into water and trees. She's not trying to become a professional golfer, and that's not the point. The point is this: when the most exciting basketball player in the world is seen enjoying golf, posting about her rounds, celebrating birdies, and laughing off mistakes, it normalizes the game for millions of young girls who never saw themselves in golf. It challenges the perception that golf is exclusive or only for certain people. It sends a message that this sport is for anyone who wants to compete, challenge themselves, and have fun. Clark has already committed to returning to the Annika in November 2025, making this an annual tradition. Her sponsor, Gainbridge, which also sponsors both the event and the Fevers Arena, clearly understands the value of associating their brand with Clark's authentic crossover appeal. When she plays golf, she's not fulfilling a contract obligation. She's doing something she genuinely loves, and audiences can immediately feel that authenticity. Clark joked about becoming a professional golfer, delivering the line with that characteristic smile that makes it impossible to know how serious she might be. But she's already accomplished something perhaps more valuable than any golf achievement could provide. She's become a bridge between sports, between audiences, between golf's traditional world and the new generation of fans who consume sports differently than any previous generation. Whether she's draining three-pointers from the logo or bombing drives on a par 5, Caitlin Clark brings the same infectious enthusiasm, the same visible commitment to excellence, and the same genuine appreciation for the people supporting her journey. That's not just good for basketball or good for golf. It's good for all of sports, reminding us that athletic pursuits at their best bring people together, create shared joy, and inspire the next generation to pick up whatever equipment calls to them and just play. So here's what I want to know, and I'm genuinely curious about your take. Could Caitlin Clark actually compete in a real LPGA tournament if she dedicated serious training time to golf? Drop "yes she could" or "basketball only" in the comments right now. And here's another one. What other sport do you think Caitlin Clark could excel at if she tried? Tennis? Softball? Track? Get creative below because this woman seems to have unlimited athletic potential. If this story inspired you or changed how you think about what's possible in sports, smash that like button right now. It actually helps this video reach more people who need to see what authentic greatness looks like. Subscribe if you haven't already because we're covering every step of athletes who are changing sports forever. And trust me, Caitlin Clark's journey is just getting started. Share this video with one person who needs inspiration today, whether they're an athlete, a parent, a coach, or just someone grinding toward their own goals. And drop a comment telling me your favorite Caitlin Clark moment, whether it's from basketball or golf or just something you saw that made you respect her. I read every single comment, and I want to hear your stories. Let's build a community that celebrates real excellence, authentic humanity, and athletes who prove that greatness knows no boundaries. I'll see you in the next one.